guy runs by me on fire. A giant, building crashes down. Chris yells, "Cut," and Hoyte hands the camera off and turns to me and goes, "This is a flashback."
Facts.
That was when I was like,
yes,
that's a big movie.
Odysseus. Don't you remember?
Simon from iGen here, and I am very lucky to be talking with the cast of The Odyssey. Matt, Zendaya, how are we doing?
Great.
Great.
I feel like we're about to do some close magic.
I know. I did come in here. I was like, okay, what are we doing today? It's very
poker.
with the light,
right.
overhead lighting. I'm like, all right.
This film is astonishing. You're both impeccable in it.
Thank you.
And I would love to know, when you first read the script, what was your favorite aspect of the character? And by the time you finished filming, had that changed at all?
I really do think Chris, probably by dint of the fact that he's such an extraordinary director, is really underrated as a writer. And I've read now 3 of his screenplays, and they're just they're so beautifully written, and I felt like very emotional reading this script in a way that even the poem didn't move me. What he decided to do, his kind of angle of attack on this entire story was just, it's like I said after I read Oppenheimer. He came over and said, "What'd you think?" And I said, "I have no notes." And he, I found out later that kind of upset him. And I was like, "No, that's the highest praise I could give.
That was a good thing.
I have no notes," but. And I felt that way about this one. I was shocked in a good way in certain places, and gasped, like it took my breath away a couple times. And I just felt really lucky to be the actor who got this part.
And by the time you finished filming, did you see Odysseus in a different light to how you read him on the page?
No, I hope I rendered something very close to what Chris wrote. That was my goal.
And Zendaya for Athena, a similar question?
I mean, I think kind of what you said, so much is on the page for you, and so much is, so generous in that way. And I found it incredibly emotional. I mean, I didn't read the Odyssey in school. I know it because it's like a culturally, throughout obviously thousands of years, it's cultural significance and relevancy, but I don't think I ever connected with it before in this way. And I think it's exciting to think also that so many people, this might be their first introduction to the Odyssey, and maybe it'll inspire them to think about Greek mythology, and there's so much there, and he's able to do it in such a human, emotional, connected way. And I think that's what I always appreciate about, like, oh man, you're reading scenes, you're like, I don't know how the hell he's gonna do this or how it's gonna be possible, but I know that it's going to be real. Yeah. And I am so curious to find out what innovation he's going to, come up with and think of and bring the brightest minds together to do. And, just as a fan, that was exciting for me. And I don't know, it was, even though I got to peek behind the curtain, the magic is like kind of never lost, I think, still. And I think so much of what I loved about Interstellar, which is one of my favorites of yours, as well, is that there was so much emphasis on a connection between a father and their child. And that rang so true in this as well. And kind of, if you have to boil things down and bring it back to those human things, I think that was so palpable in both of those films. And I remember talking to you on set and you talking about like your kids and missing your kids, and I think that I don't know, it's the scale and scope, but also there's so much heart and there's so much humanity.
And just echoing that it's a really good point, because I had that experience reading Interstellar as well as this one, like where you go, how is he going to shoot this? Yeah. I mean, Interstellar has a whole sequence where Matthew's in another dimension, and you're going, this guy's going to do it practically.
Right.
Like what even, like I genuinely have no idea how he's going to do this.
I'd like to jump off on one of those scenes. It's not one technically either of you are in, but the Cersei scene, where all that's happening. I don't want to spoil it too much for people.
Yeah.
On the page, could you, in your head, even imagine what that would look like?
Because it's described, yes, but how he would, the technical challenge of doing that without CGI, I couldn't fathom how it was done. I know, look, there are all these old tricks and you know, like Alien, like Ridley. I remember Ridley telling me this story of Stanley Kubrick calling him because he was pretty sure he knew how he did the reveal of the alien, and
wanted to
but
make
it was
sure,
it was
yeah.
bothering him so much that he reached out to Ridley to get the, because there are these methods that have been around for a really long time, and if you combine them in the right way, you can you know, that's the magic of movies, you know, that precede CGI.
And that scene and the Cyclops scene, and maybe even sort of like the Hades scene, there's a real like underlying horror to some of this film.
Yeah,
like,
for sure.
Did it feel like Chris was directing you in a horror film at times?
Well, it felt like each one of these chapters was a completely different place and a completely different, and so it almost was like 6 different movies, right, as part of this Odyssey, and there's no way to be in Iceland on a black sand beach with 500 shades, you know, in all of that, and not feel like you're in a horror movie. But the practical nature of like the shades rising out of the sand, I'm thinking, how's he going to do it? And of course, you know, the stunt people were buried. They had snorkels, and you know, that you couldn't see, and each person had a safety person on them, and a timer went the second the first person was covered up. And we had like a few minutes to get the sequence, even though the stunt people could move. Because they rise up out of the sand of their own power. If you put like just 1 inch too much of sand on somebody, suddenly they're completely immobilized. So there was this whole aspect of safety alongside this incredible visual spectacle that it's all in camera.
Yeah. Speaking of visual spectacle, Zendaya, you've worked with Christopher Nolan and Denis Villeneuve, like 2 of our big blockbuster spectacle directors currently working. Do those sets feel similar, or like, what are the differences in working on those?
Man, I mean, I just feel really lucky. I mean, crazy lucky. I think both of them I think what I've found so clear, there's such a respect between both of them. And also what I see is like a deep love and care for film. They just really love this art form, and they want to keep it alive. They want to protect it, and you know, really at the end of the day, they're just like nerds out on it. Like they love it, and I think that feeling of love and commitment and passion for what you do is so palpable. It's palpable when you're at work, when you see that like they're always the first one there and the first one to leave. You know, it's. That to me stood out the most, is their really pure love for what we get to do, and that feels infectious for sure.
And this is the 3rd time you've worked with Chris now, I think.
Yeah.
From working on this compared to Interstellar, is there any clear differences you see?
Well, I mean, it's tough if we're talking about you know, gradations of genius at this point. Like, well, by the time we worked together, we were both in our 40s, so he was very established and, you know, very deep into this incredible career. And so, what I could say, I think, and I think he'd agree with, is that this film, and Emma said it as well, because it's 6 different films. They had made each of these films before, in a way. You know, they'd been on the water with Dunkirk. They'd been, you know, and so to tackle something this ambitious, I think it did require that body of work that preceded it for him to be able to take this on the way he did.
And the cast list in general for this film is absurd when you look down the list of names. Like, I'm just curious, when you like sign on to a film like this and you start to find out who else is going to be in it and stuff like that, is it a feeling of excitement, or is there a slight bit of like trepidation, like I've got to step up here? Oh,
for me, it was so exciting. It was so exciting, and he puts so much thought into casting, and I always think, you know, leaving myself out of it, the casting in his movies is just impeccable always, and in this one as well, I felt every one of these people, they're all superstars, but they just disappeared into their roles, and everybody is so good in this movie. Again, leaving myself out of it, I'm not talking about myself. I'm talking about I would go to work and be opposite somebody and just be, and just I felt such joy, I felt such gratitude to see what was happening in front of me every day. It really is a lights out cast.
Yeah. You can tell Matt he's great if you'd like.
No, please don't.
He's great.
Let's move on.
I have to say.
Let's move on.
But you know, it's what was so incredible to what you're saying is like I'm popping in and out,
which
and
is
you guys,
really hard to do.
but you guys were like in it, and then when I just got even a glimpse of the things that you guys were up to, and just I don't know, just being such a leader in that way, and it was just I also felt such a warmth too. Like I never felt like I was like just that kid showing up, every now and then. It's like, oh yeah, you come on this day. You should have seen us yesterday. Everybody was so, embracing.
Everyone was excited that you were there. We really were, and it was like, and the first day of work you had was, I mean, we don't want to spoil anything, but was a very, very, very difficult. I mean, I would put that up there with, I mean, that was about as challenging as it gets. And she quite famously, Chris is very circumspect when I usually get, yeah, all right, good, yeah, and moving on. And she got a perfect, and which we had never heard before.
Well done.
And Tom and I were bitching about it for the rest of the day.
Give them something to talk about.
Yeah, you sure did. Yeah.
But yeah, everybody was like very welcoming in that sense, because I was nervous. I was nervous as hell, and trying to take all of that energy and like use it for something, because you're there, and you look around and there's like 40 fights going on, and there's just the scale and the amount of hard work that already happened before you got there. Yeah. You look around and there's so many details. The background performers, the stunt performers, like everyone is giving so much. And I was like, the last thing I want to do is come in here and mess that up.
Slow it down.
Because this train is moving at the highest level, So I felt, like you're saying, just very lucky to be there, and wanted to just watch you guys work and try to absorb as much as I could, because in what world would you get an opportunity to do that?
I mean, you've both been in huge movies before, but was there a moment in this one where, can you remember the first moment on set or during production where you were like, okay, this is something else?
Day one.
Literally, day one. Seeing the horse buried in the beach, I'll never forget that. And there's a good story that happened during Troy. There were 1,000 people. There was this battle scene, and Hoyta's got the camera on his shoulder, and it's Odysseus is taking this all in, and so I'm looking at all of this, and it's obviously all in camera. There are 1,000 people. A guy runs by me on fire. A giant, building crashes down, and Chris yells, "Cut!" And Hoyta hands the camera off and turns to me and goes, "This is a flashback."
Facts.
That was when I was like,
yes,
that's a big movie.
Wow, that is ridiculous. I wonder, was there anyone amongst the cast or the crew that were particular Greek mythology nerds who were like, oh my God, I can't believe there's a Cyclops here. That is, you remember a moment where someone was almost like, I can't believe I'm here. I mean, I'm sure everyone was thinking that, right? Well,
all the guys who played that Odysseus's crew were incredible. They were really up for it. They were put through a lot. They had to literally learn how to row a 100-ton ship. We went to rowing camp. I mean, they were just so game. And when we got up to shoot that Cyclops sequence, all of us knew. For instance, there's the famous scene where they blind the Cyclops with it's not a spoiler alert.
Yeah, 1,000 years.
3,000-year-old story, but when Chris selected it was like, we're the guys who get to. There was a real sense of being a part of the chosen from this story that's been with us for thousands of years.
Yeah, I think I've got time for one more question. I'd just like to know, Zendaya, Athena, did you approach that character as a god or a human?
Oh man, so much as a human. I think but that so much was like I said, it was in the material that I was given. I think he really was able to go back to the humanity of it all, and not I'm not appearing in armor and gold. And it was, I remember our first fitting, it was very talking about how dyes for certain garments would be very expensive, and there was a reason why he wanted me to appear the way I did, and there's a reason why Athena comes to him at the time she does, in the human form that she does, and it'll make more sense when you see it. But yeah, I thought that's what pulled at my heart, at least, and was very helpful, because I didn't have to think about being a goddess per se so much as a human being, talking to trying to connect to another.
Yeah. I think it worked beautifully, as did the whole film. Thank you so much for talking to me.
Thank you.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Appreciate it.
Thank you so
Thank you.
much.
We won the war.